everyone, this is Yana Smakula, and I'm super excited to be guest designing for Waffle Flower Crafts this month. Today I'll be sharing a simple holiday card using the new homemade Christmas set. Before we start working on a card, let's take a look at this stamp set. It's one of those building type sets. I like to think of them as Lego for stampers. So here you have lots of different images that go together to create a complex image. Like this From Our Home to Yours sentiment and the little lights girland, or the lights girland and the large rounded triangle. Put those two together and you have a fantastic Christmas tree. There's also a little holder ornament with additional pieces, the little topper and the hanging piece. You also have gifts and to and from messages if you wanted to create a gift tag instead of a card. And there are also little dotted lines for you to write the name of the recipient on. These also go well together with the lights garland. And of course, there are little hearts and stars to complement your stamping. I personally like stamp sets like this, where you can play and build and color as you like. But today I'm going to work with only two colors. I plan to make a snowy black and white heat embossed card. So here I have a piece of black cardstock and I cut it down with the help of my Spellbinder's dies. I also have an A2 top folding card base and I plan to add vellum to my design later. If you don't have vellum, you can finish your card base with some creative stamping and I'll talk about it later in my video. You will also need the clear embossing ink and white embossing powder, or you can skip the embossing and just use white pigment ink to stamp your design. It's not going to look as white as the embossed image does, but it's still going to create a cool effect. So I'm going to start working on my stamping. First, I'm going to tape this little piece down to my work surface as I don't want it to move. And I'm using some repositionable adhesive from Scrapbook Adhesives to do that. I can easily rub it off with my fingers or an eraser when I'm done stamping. So next I'm going to use my magic powder tool to prep my surface for embossing. I'm basically going to heavily coat it with powder to make sure the embossing powder sticks only where I need it to stick. I'm going to be working from the bottom and will move to the top. The idea is to stamp the entire design first and then cover it with embossing powder. You can do this one by one, stamp one image and emboss it, but I think it's going to take much longer, so I'm going to stamp everything first and then emboss it all at once. I'm first stamping the Merry Christmas and then moving on to a little ornament, which I'm going to stamp only partially. I have already two stamps on my clear block, the ornament and the little topper piece, and I'm going to ink just the top part of the ornament as I want to leave it, to have it sitting on my Merry Christmas sentiment. Instead of partial inking, you can use some masking. You can mask a part of the ornament with washi tape or a piece of paper and ink it that way. That should be very easy to do too. So moving further up, I'm going to ink and stamp the little dash lines right above the ornament. I'm trying to place them in the center of my clear block so that it would be easier to align them on my cardstock and stamp in the center. I find that these clear blocks with grid lines are very helpful. So next I'm going to add the ho 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 inside the lines and create additional sentiment for my card. I'm actually going to have a few sentiments here, but the top one is going to be the main one. And I also forgot to stamp the little hanger piece for the ornament, so I'm going back and adding that in as well. Next, I'm going to stamp the little houses and a tiny Christmas tree. I think those images are just the cutest, and also the little gifts from the set. You can use them in so many different ways. Think like pattern paper, stamped borders, little accents. There are really lots of options here. Now, if you wanted to have a really modern looking card, you can do this same type of stamping and design in black ink over some gray cardstock. I think that would look really stylish and fun. I'm actually going to show you that done at the end of this video. You can kind of get an idea of how it would look by looking at this piece here. Because we had it covered with that powder, now it looks gray and the clear ink looks black. So I'm going to continue working in this fashion until I have my design completely stamped. I'm adding the main sentiment From Our Home to Yours and the little Christmas lights. Now, you don't have to do this just in one color. These images allow you to do multicolored stamping, so you can have the sentiment stamped in green, and then the lights stamped in yellow, and then have the little stars stamped in red. So there are lots of options here. Don't be just limited to just one color. Now, because I'm using special embossing ink to stamp my images, I can take my time and work as slowly as I need to without the ink drying out. So now my design is complete. I've also added the little stars all around the images and to the top of my main sentiment. I also used the dashed lines to add strings to my ornaments on the left there. I'm now going to grab my craft knife and pick this up from my work surface, cover it up with white embossing powder and heat set it. Right now this piece looks like a cool chalkboard one. For a moment even I thought about turning it into a chalkboard piece by adding some more images stamped in white pigment ink. Now, even though I use my magic powder to prevent embossing powder from sticking everywhere, I still got some embossing powder where I didn't need it. So I'm going to use a stiff paintbrush and swipe off the powder. So here's what my heat embossed background looks like. I really like the way it turned out, and I'm just going to use a wet wipe and remove the powder from the cardstock, and you're going to see that it's really going to pop. Now, if you see any of the areas that didn't emboss well, you can come in with a white gel pen and add color this way. That's what I'm going to do to those dashed lines. I'm going to draw dashes with my white pen. Now I can begin assembling my card. Here I have a piece of vellum with little dots that look like snow, and it's got exactly to the size of my A2 card. I always have a hard time adhering vellum though, so to make sure my adhesive doesn't show through, I'm going to add it only behind the embossed panel. To know where to add it, I'm going to temporarily adhere the black panel to my vellum, flip it, and add adhesive to the back around the perimeter of my black piece, excuse me. Then peel off the black panel and adhere my vellum to my card base. It's only going to be adhered in the center, but it's more than enough to hold it in place. Now, the adhesive is showing through vellum, but because I'm going to place my black panel on top of it, no one will ever know it was there. To add my black panel, I'm using dimensional foam adhesive, and I'm just placing it on top in the center. At this point, you can leave your card as is, black and white, or you can add a pop of color with small embellishments like sequins, rhinestones, or enamel dots. You can add just one color or choose to add multiple colors of embellishments for a brighter card. So I pulled my enamel dots and placed a few in different colors and sizes on my black panel. You can also use these embellishments to cover up any of the imperfections that you might have from your stamping and embossing. Now, if you didn't want to use vellum, you can create your own stamped backgrounds using images from this set. So here I have an example with the gray, black, and white color combo that I talked about previously, and I added lots of little gray stars to my card base to make my background a bit more interesting. This doesn't take long at all, and you don't have to stamp the entire front panel of the card. You can just stamp around the gray piece. I suggest using at least 2 colors of gray for your stars. Now, if you don't want to stamp just stars, you can also use the little Christmas ornament and stamp it in a few spots, creating a fun background. And again, don't just limit yourself to black and gray. Try adding some pinks and purples for a fun look. Another idea that I had while I was working on my card is to create a card set as a gift. So here I have 4 identical cards turned into a handmade gift. I used a strip of vellum with heat embossed "Gift for You" message and wrapped it around my cards, creating a fun handmade gift. So this is it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video, and if you're looking for a list of supplies to create cards like this, you can find it below in the video description or on the Waffle Flower Crafts blog. Thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please click like, drop me a comment, and share this video with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye!